Okay, loves, I'm back as promised with part three, which is all about energetic boundaries, holding people in their highest possible view, because where our focus goes, energy flows, and we really do have a lot of power over what we create when we're mindful of the stories that we tell. It can be hard to do that when we haven't done the energetic work, when we can't focus fully on what it is we want, or we don't know what we want, or we continuously get pulled into those old negative patterns, thoughts, beliefs, feelings, triggers, whatnot. Then we've got to do that work first. But as we learn to do that work, we can also be practicing our positive focus, be practicing the story it is that we want to tell. And as we unravel the things that are kind of in resistance to that, or the repellent energies to such, then we will be able to easier and easier grasp onto those stories, tell them as default, and create that in our lives. And so this is really important right now, especially. We just went through another really deep, high energy frequency shift in the past several days. There have been solar flares out of this world. The Schumann resonance has been off the chart. Now, these are both things that affect us on a very deep level because it's the actual vibrational level and speed of the earth. Its frequency is rising. And then at the same time, we're getting pummeled with extra solar flare explosions from the sun. And when that happens, it's actually measurable, the neutrinos and the flavor of those neutrinos. So basically the type of energy that's being sent to us are different frequencies that kind of vibrate out what no longer serves us, what's no longer going to be able to be sustained at these higher vibrational levels that the earth is rising to. And so, anywhere that we're in resistance to that, we can be really feeling it a lot right now. So over the past week, I've actually seen a lot of people, heard from a lot of clients and a lot of friends, and then also myself been dealing with, deeper issues coming to the surface, right? Like feeling really, really bad because as we resist these energies, they're more painful, and it can really feel defeating. Like, why are we back here again? Or how come I can't get over this? Or, it just feels never ending. But there is an end, I promise you that. And each time that we feel so bad, if we can find a way to understand that it's happening for us, that on the other side of that, we're going to feel so much better. And so I have heard from many people that today was that day where they felt the release. They're feeling better than ever. So hopefully that's you. If it's not, just hold out and understand that the more you can surrender to yourself, the more you can rest and receive, like we've been talking about in the other videos, the more that you can, understand where your attraction and repulsion energies are coming in, the easier you get through it, the faster you get through it. And so, as I said, I've done a lot of this work. I still have my lessons. And for me, the subconscious lessons that I'm able to catch or whatever that are very subtle now, some of those I can't even see, right? They're like such a part of my makeup, such a part of my human nature that I can't even possibly begin to pick it out of anywhere. And when that happens, when an energy is kind of asking to be released from my body that I can't see, or that someone else isn't going to be able to reflect to me because it's so deep, then I basically just go out for the count. Like, I'll end up getting what I am terming energy sickness. There's all kinds of different ways that this shows up for people. It's very unique, but for me, it's usually just like complete exhaustion, like utter, like I can't even look at my phone. It gives me a headache. It gives me body aches. I'm literally sleeping for at least a day or two. So this happened over the past couple of days, and I found myself within that being still impatient with myself. Like, again, like, when am I going to be done with this? And it's like, I've got to practice what I preach, because while I'm having those thoughts, I'm also understanding on a deeper level that that's not helping me. This focus on like, oh my God, it's never ending. Oh my God, here we are again. I'm continuing to create that loop. I'm continuing to set myself up for the next time that my body is going through an energetic shift, for it to be just as difficult, for it to be just as hard, because it's what I expect and it's the story that I tell. And so even though it soothes me to tell the story and understand that this is happening for a reason and this is okay and this is just the way that I process, if I'm an infinite creator, and if I see other people able to process this energy in an easier, more effortless way than I am, then I know that that's available for me too. So while I'm in this, very real healing pain situation, whatever you want to call it, I'm understanding that part of the lesson for me is to understand that I am also misusing my focus when I continue to tell the story that doesn't serve me. And so as I started to twist that story on myself and say, you know what, no, I'm feeling better and better. I'm allowing this to be easy. I allow this to be easy and effortless. I don't need to suffer in order to upgrade. I no longer need to play out this pattern of suffering. And then I became aware that on this deep, deep level, that's what I was releasing. And that's what we're collectively going to be asked to release. If you haven't yet, you may be in a different area or energetic release, or things that are coming up for you that aren't this. But trust me that we all have this or have had it on some level, because it is a thread that binds us as human beings, human creatures. And it is this innate feeling that it's not easy, that it's difficult, that we need to struggle for it to be worth it, that we need to suffer in order to get there. And if we allow it to just be easy and we let go of the suffering and the struggling, then that doesn't feel safe. Like literally on a deep, deep unconscious level, unconscious meaning what connects us to all that is in the unity consciousness realm, that does not feel safe. And so until we're able to relax into that and release into that, there are places because the way we do one thing is the way we do all things, there are places in our lives that we will see that pattern repeat, where we don't just allow it to be easy, where we don't feel worthy of it just coming to us effortlessly, without suffering, without pain. And so I really moved through some deep levels of that. And I think that it was interesting that I've been planning this talk all along, and then I went through this upgrade because, I kept wanting to do this sooner. I think the last video was over a week ago, and I said I'd do it in a few days or whenever I felt like it. And it didn't feel like it truly until today. And I needed this upgrade in order to kind of pull through the information to you that you needed to receive, because now I have embodied it on an even deeper level. The original message still stands strong though. We have so much more power than we have ever been led to believe or could ever fathom in this world, until we begin to take a step into that power and start to understand and see it perpetuate and work, and experimentally say, well, what if, and try, and then watch the magic unfold in your own life. And so where this comes into really, really importance in this day and age is, as we are finding our own center and our own path, and it doesn't match our neighbors, and it doesn't match society, and it doesn't match the public school system or the government or this, that, or the other thing, where we're standing out on our own and we're feeling a little shaky out there, to understand that we get to decide how we tell that story. We get to decide how available we are for support by the story that we're telling. We get to decide what we are and are not available for. And so our fears that we won't be accepted, our fears that our neighbors will judge us, our fears that we'll be cast out from the crowd, they're very real, the fears. And we can create that in our reality and find proof for that if we believe those fears. If we don't weed the garden of thoughts there, pull those out, pluck them, and say, you know what? No. I'm choosing to believe that there are people out there who are just like me. I'm choosing to believe that as I weed out these people and detach from that reality, that this reality is growing. The reality I focus on is getting bigger and brighter and better and more obvious and more effortless. I'm attracting the people who are like me. And as we do that, we're gonna be tested. We're gonna come up against, relationship problems with our family, with our spouses, with our children, with our workplace, with ourselves, where it's not gonna feel right, and we're gonna wonder what to do. And we hear everybody talk about setting boundaries, right? Like, you need to set boundaries. You need to let them know how you're willing to be treated or whatever. And this idea of boundaries is so distorted, because it's like an electric fence. A lot of times when you hear people talk about it, it's like, I'm putting up an electric fence and you are not to step past it. And we do not need to do boundaries that way. Boundaries are an inner game. And so what I wanted to bring to you today was, with this power of focus, this power of intention, and stepping into it experimentally and understanding how we hone that muscle of ours to intend and decide and then see it happen. That as we do that, it's an inner game. It's an inner game, you guys. You set that boundary with yourself. So if someone is treating you a way that you don't want to be treated, or someone is using you or using up your time and it doesn't feel good, You feel within your body, as I talked about in my previous videos, go back if you didn't watch those, but you feel that polarity, that push or that pull in your body, and you be with it, and you come back to center, okay? You feel the feelings of being used, right? Like, what does that feel like in my body? What is that within me that keeps attracting people who use me and abuse me, right? What is that within me that attracts people who say these things to me or do these things to me or trigger me in this way? What is that in me that's pulling that in? Once you deal with that charge and you start to tell the story, it's like you get to set the boundary within yourself and with God. I'm not available for that anymore. And when you truly mean it with all of your being, like when you have felt through all the charges and it's not coming from a lower mind of like being bratty or trying to control, but it's coming from a place of self-support of this is my energy and this is what I am available for and this is what I'm not available for. From this day forth, I'm not energetically available for people to come into my life and treat me this way. I'm only available for people who will come in and see my value and see my worth and love me unconditionally, no matter what I do or don't do for them, or whatever the story is, right? When you really truly claim that, you might still be tested, right? And it's in those moments. So you claim that, and then your friend comes up and takes advantage of you again, let's say, or says something, that you've already claimed you're not available for. In that moment, it's not about expressing your boundary to them or having a big ugly conversation or making it about anything that needs to be two-way. It's about what are you going to do to support yourself in that moment? Are you going to engage? Are you going to do the thing that they asked you to do? Are you going to stand up and just say, you know what? No, I'm not available for that right now. And understand that if they're upset with that, that's on them. What action are you going to take for you to support what you said you claim? Because if you can just take one or two small actions, I tell you what, it just stops coming into your reality. It's like the previous videos with the repulsion and the attraction. You are acting differently in the moment to the trigger or to the situation or to the energy, which is creating and enforcing that silent, energetic, internal boundary that you've created. And it's making you not available for that. Now, simultaneously with that is understanding that sometimes these people, we want them in our lives, we want to take care of ourselves, but we don't want to just cut everyone else out, right? And that's very hard with family or close friendships and things like that. And what we need to do is we need to see these people as we prefer them to show up in our lives. We are all multifaceted beings. If you picture us like diamonds, we all have these mirrored sides, right? And we're an energetic match or attraction to the facet in that individual that we have an energetic match for. If we have been matching up with the facets of someone that are unpreferential and we decide all of a sudden that we're polishing that mirror off and we're not available for that reflection anymore, there might be a time frame where there's some space. There might even be a time frame where you have to detach and let go of any attachments to that relationship, where you grieve like, oh, I might have to let this person go, and that's okay. If I have to let this person go, I choose me. When you do that, you create space, and all of a sudden they will come back into your life with their shiniest facets a match to you, with the pieces that you saw in them that were the good parts, the only parts that show up for you anymore. So it's really, really important that we do this with the people that we love without expectation of control and, it has to be this way, but in like, I'm available for this highest version of you, and this is how I see you, and this is what I'm available to connect with. And if you can meet me here I am. And if you can't, I free you up to go learn your lessons on someone else, to reflect that shit on someone else, because I'm not available for it anymore. When you do that, sometimes you do leave people behind, but more often than not, you hold that space for them to rise up. And so even if it takes some time, they will meet you in the reality that you've created for them, because you are the creator, and how you see them is how they will show up. And so when we're beating the drum of negative stories about people in our lives over and over again, and who they are and how they show up, we are guaranteeing that they will continue to show up like that. We're doing ourselves a disservice, and more than that, we're doing them a disservice, because we're not seeing them at their highest expression where they could be if only they had someone as powerful as you focused on them in that aspect, instead of focused on their most lowest aspects, if that makes sense. And so one of the things and tools that I use a lot and that I've had my clients use a lot is when you have someone in your life that you're having trouble with, to write out a list of positive aspects of that person. And every time you go down the road, because we're addicted to those thoughts and those stories, and it's like a big magnetic ball that always pulls you right back to where you left off. Every time you catch yourself in a negative story about that person, or in a negative feeling about that person, or a negative trigger, you pull up that note on your phone with that person's name, and you remind yourself of all of the good qualities, of all of the ways that you choose to see this person, and just remember and transmute. It's not deny the feelings. It's like, okay, where is that in me? It's coming up for a reason. It's coming up to be felt. This is my emotion. And this person's giving me the reflection and the opportunity to move through it so that I don't have to keep experiencing it again. You move through that and then remind yourself of what it is you do desire, what it is you do prefer, what it is you do love about this individual. And you just keep saying, you know what? I'm available for this version. I'm available for this version. This is what I see. This is who they are to me. This is how I feel about them. And I guarantee you, you will see magic show up in your life. They will either vibrate away for a while and you'll be okay with that, or they will vibrate right back in eventually, which is 99% of the time what happens, and it will be a beautiful unfolding, a reciprocating of unconditional love between you, of, you know, higher vibrational relationship where they can meet you, and maybe you do actually have conversations about this when you're both on the same level. But expressing boundaries and letting people know, you know, your feelings and your process when they're not available to hear it, when they're not on the same vibrational level as you, or they're not matching you in the right facet to understand, it's just wasting your breath. It's wasting your time. It's making it feel like a failure. It's pushing more energy out to reverberate back to you that you don't want. And so it's an inner job to really mind that focus. Let it be easy. Let it be effortless. Let people support you. Let it be unconditional. Learn to receive, and learn to really, really stake in your claim on your worth, because you're worth it. You're worth it. And the more that you claim that, and the more that you energetically grind that boundary in and are not available for anything else, you absolutely spread that to everyone around you. You give them that set point to rise up and meet you there where it's a much happier place. I love you guys, and I hope this was helpful.